Allow me to tell you a story. Some stories are born from imagination. Others feel so real that, even years later, people still argue about what truly happened. Whether this story is fact or fiction, I'll leave that for you to decide. All I ask is that you stay with me until the very end. People looked at my brother like he was perfect. That evening, everyone applauded him. He stood in the middle of the room, holding his fiancée's hand. His name was Ethan. Tall, handsome, always smiling. He leaned closer to his beautiful fiancée. "I promise, I'll spend the rest of my life making you happy." Everyone smiled. Some people even wiped tears from their eyes. They believed every word. But I didn't, because I knew the real Ethan. I was his younger brother. My name is Ian. And I knew everything. Everyone thought my brother was kind, generous, honest. They couldn't have been more wrong. Behind that perfect smile was a man who only loved himself. He loved attention. He loved admiration. And he loved lying. No one saw it, except me. Our parents treated Ethan like he was a prince. From the day we were born, everything belonged to him. The best food, the nicest clothes, the newest toys. If Ethan wanted something, our parents found a way to buy it, even when they had no money. Sometimes, Dad borrowed money from neighbors, just to make Ethan happy. No one ever asked what I wanted. No one cared. If I reached for the special meal Mom made for Ethan, she would gently slap my hand away. "That's for your brother. You can eat what everyone else is eating." I stopped asking questions, but inside, I never understood why. We were only 2 years apart. We lived in the same house, had the same parents. Yet, it felt like I was invisible. Ethan tried every hobby imaginable: football, basketball, swimming, martial arts, the gym, modeling. Every month, he wanted to become someone new. And every month, our parents spent more money making his dreams come true, no matter how quickly he quit. Meanwhile, I learned something important. If I wanted anything, I had to earn it myself. I watched my brother smile, while the whole family admired him. Then I looked at Emma. She had no idea who she was about to marry, and I couldn't stay silent anymore. Not this time. Not after 18 years. I wasn't always silent. Once, I was just a normal little boy. I laughed. I played outside. I dreamed about the future. I loved my family. Even if they didn't seem to notice me. Everything changed. When I was 10 years old, our class was planning a school trip. Everyone was excited. Every student had already paid, except me. I reminded my parents several times. They always said, "We'll see." The deadline arrived. That morning, I stood in the kitchen. "Dad, today's the last day. I need the money for the school trip." He didn't even look at me. "We don't have it. You'll stay home. It won't kill you." I felt my chest tighten. I looked at Ethan. Just a week earlier, Dad had bought him expensive sports equipment, something he had begged for. Again, I couldn't understand it anymore. I looked back at my father. "Am I really your son?" The room became silent. "If I am, why do you always choose Ethan? Why does he get everything, while I get nothing?" For 1 second, I thought someone would finally hear me. Maybe Mom, maybe Dad. Instead, Dad exploded. "You ungrateful brat. You're jealous of your brother. You should be ashamed of yourself." Then he said words I would never forget. "I wish you had never been born." The room became completely quiet. I looked at my mother. She said nothing, not one word. She lowered her eyes and stayed silent. That hurt even more. Something inside me broke forever. I turned around, walked out of the house, and started running. I didn't know where I was going. I just wanted to get away. Away from the shouting, away from the pain, away from the family that never truly wanted me. I kept running until I reached an old abandoned vineyard outside town. It was peaceful there. Only the wind. And the birds. I lay down in the grass, staring at the sky. Then, I made the biggest decision of my life. A decision that would change everything. I'll never ask them for anything again. And I'll never speak to anyone again. Not for a day. Not for a week. For as long as it takes. That was the promise. A 10-year-old boy made to himself. And I had no idea. I would keep it. For the next 18 years. I never went to school that day. Instead, I stayed in the old vineyard until sunset. For the first time in my life, I felt completely alone. But I also made myself another promise. No matter what happened, I would become someone they could never ignore. I would study. I would work harder than anyone else. And one day, I would build a life without them. When I finally returned home, everything looked normal. Dad was sitting outside. Mom was beside him. Ethan wasn't home yet. I walked past them. Without saying a word, Dad looked up. "Ian, come back here." I stopped. Slowly. I turned around. "Don't you have any manners? Say hello." I looked at him, but I said nothing. Mom smiled nervously. "Come on, sweetheart. Just say hello." Still, I stayed silent. Dad stood up. His face turned red. I said, "Say hello." Nothing. The silence only made him angrier. He pulled off his belt. Then he started hitting me. Again and again. The leather burned across my legs, across my back. The pain was terrible. But I never cried. And I never spoke. When he finally stopped, I simply walked to my room, without a single word. The next morning, I went to school. My teacher smiled. "Good morning, Ian." I looked at her, but I didn't answer. She frowned. When she called on me in class, I walked to the front. She asked me a question. Instead of speaking, I picked up a piece of chalk and wrote the answer on the board. She stared at me, confused. During lunch, she asked if I was feeling sick. I quietly wrote on a piece of paper, "I can't speak anymore." She looked worried, but she believed me. A few days later, my parents were called to the school. No one understood what had happened. Doctors examined me. Specialists asked endless questions. I answered none of them. Not with my voice, only with short written notes. Eventually, they gave up searching for a physical cause. Everyone believed I had suffered some kind of emotional trauma. They called it selective mutism. No one knew that I had chosen every second of it. It wasn't an illness. It was a promise, and I intended to keep it. The years passed, but my silence never ended. I became known as the quiet boy. Some classmates felt sorry for me. Others stayed away. A few made fun of me. I ignored all of them. Books became my escape. Studying became my purpose. If I couldn't have a family that believed in me, I would build a future that proved them wrong. Every report card came home with perfect grades. Every teacher praised my work. My parents barely noticed. If they ever spoke about me, it was only because they were embarrassed. Ethan was still the center of their world. He changed dreams every few months. One day he wanted to be a professional athlete. The next, a fashion designer. Then a businessman. Nothing ever lasted, but Mom and Dad kept paying for every new obsession. When high school ended, I received scholarships from 2 universities. For the first time, I didn't need my parents. I enrolled in both electrical engineering and law. During the day, I studied. At night, I worked in a small restaurant washing dishes and cleaning tables. I barely slept, but I loved every minute of it. Every dollar I earned was mine. Every success belonged to me alone. Meanwhile, my parents found a doctor willing to write a medical report saying I had a long-term speech disorder. That paper followed me everywhere. It explained why I never spoke. My professors accepted it. During oral exams, I answered in writing. Some people admired my determination. Others pitied me. Neither opinion mattered. I wasn't living for their approval anymore. I was living for myself. Years later, I graduated from both universities. At the top of my class, several major companies offered me a job. They didn't care that I never spoke. They cared about results. For the first time in my life, someone valued me for what I could actually do. And while my life slowly moved forward, Ethan was still living in his own fantasy, always charming, always smiling, always pretending to be someone he wasn't. Until the night he announced his engagement to Emma. The night everything finally changed. After graduation, I accepted a job as an electrical engineer. The company gave me everything I had worked for: a good salary, a quiet office, and colleagues who respected my work. They never treated me like I was broken. They simply adapted. If someone needed an answer, I wrote it. If we had a meeting, I typed my ideas on a laptop. My silence never stopped me from doing my job. For the first time, I felt respected. I rented a small apartment across town. It wasn't luxurious, but it was mine. No shouting, no comparisons, no reminders that I would never be enough. Just peace. A few months later, I adopted a golden retriever. I named him Buddy. He became my family. Every evening, he waited by the front door. His tail wagged wildly the moment I came home. We walked through the park every night. He never cared that I didn't speak. He understood me anyway. Sometimes, I wondered if animals loved people better than people loved each other. Meanwhile, my parents continued worshipping Ethan. He still hadn't built a real career. He loved talking about fashion, about famous designers, about exclusive events. According to him, the biggest names in the industry wanted him on their team. He claimed they offered him incredible salaries, luxury apartments, even blank checks. He always refused. Because I'm loyal. That's what he told everyone. My parents believed every word. Neighbors admired him. Relatives praised him. No one ever questioned his stories. Then one evening, Mom called me. Not because she missed me. Not because she wanted to know how I was doing. She wanted to invite me to Ethan's engagement celebration. I simply nodded, even though she couldn't see me. Then I hung up. For some reason, I decided to go. I had no idea that after 18 years, my silence was about to end. The engagement party was held at Emma's parents' beautiful estate. Everything looked perfect. Soft music filled the air. Crystal glasses sparkled beneath elegant lights. Guests laughed, raised their champagne, and admired the happy couple. Then, Ethan stepped forward. He reached for Emma's hand and smiled the smile everyone adored. My beautiful Emma, you are the greatest blessing God has ever given me. I promise to spend every day making you smile. You are my world, my future, my forever. The room exploded into applause. Emma's cheeks turned bright pink. She looked completely in love. She believed every word. But I couldn't clap, because less than 24 hours earlier, I had seen Ethan behind a restaurant, kissing another woman. He didn't know I was there. I had watched everything. The way he held her, the way he laughed, the promises he whispered, were almost identical to the ones he was giving Emma now. My stomach twisted. I looked around the room. Everyone admired him. My parents looked proud. Dad smiled like he'd raised the perfect son. Mom wiped away happy tears. I felt sick. 18 years. I had kept my promise. 18 years. Without speaking, without defending myself, without telling anyone what I knew. But now, an innocent woman was about to marry the biggest liar I'd ever known. I looked at Emma. She deserved the truth. Even if she hated me afterward, even if everyone turned against me again, I could stay silent about my own pain, but I couldn't stay silent while someone else's life was about to be destroyed. I took one slow breath. For the first time in 18 years, I opened my mouth. The room fell silent. Every eye turned toward me. For a moment, no one recognized my voice. Even my own ears barely recognized it. I looked straight at Ethan. Then I spoke again. How can you stand there, look Emma in the eyes, and lie so easily? A wave of whispers spread through the room. Mom froze. Dad stared at me, as if he'd seen a ghost. Emma slowly let go of Ethan's hand. Her smile disappeared. Ethan's face turned pale. Then, his expression hardened. "What did you just say?" His voice was cold. "Dangerous." I didn't look away. "I saw you last night. You weren't alone. You were kissing another woman." Emma gasped. Someone dropped a glass. The sound echoed through the room. Ethan laughed, a fake laugh. Then he pointed at me. "Listen to him. The mute finally talks. And this is what comes out. You're jealous. You've always been jealous of me." He stepped closer. "You owe Emma an apology. You owe Mom and Dad an apology. You've embarrassed this family long enough." I shook my head. "No, I'm done protecting your lies." I turned toward Emma. She was trembling. Tears filled her eyes. "I'm sorry. I truly am. But you deserve to know who you're marrying. This isn't the first woman, and it won't be the last. If you don't believe me, ask him where he was yesterday evening. Ask him who he was with. You'll find the truth." Emma slowly looked at Ethan. She didn't say a word. She was waiting for him to deny it, to explain, to save everything. Instead, he looked away, just for 1 second. That was enough. Emma took a slow step backward, then another. Tears rolled down her face. Her father immediately walked to her side. "So? It's true," she whispered. Ethan reached for her hand. "Emma, let me explain." She pulled away. "Don't touch me." Those 3 words hurt him more than anything I had said. For the first time in his life, the perfect mask began to crack. Before anyone could move, Ethan exploded. He crossed the room in seconds. His fist slammed into my face. The force knocked me backward. I hit the floor. The room filled with screams. But Ethan wasn't finished. He kicked me again and again. Years of anger poured out of him. I curled up, trying to protect myself. Still, the blows kept coming. Someone shouted, "Stop." Another voice yelled, "Call an ambulance." I could barely hear them. Everything became blurry. The last thing I saw was Emma trying to pull Ethan away. Then, darkness. When I opened my eyes, I was lying in a hospital bed. My head was pounding, my ribs burned every time I breathed. For a moment, I couldn't remember where I was. Then, I saw her, Emma. She was sitting beside my bed. Her eyes were red from crying. The moment she noticed I was awake, she smiled with relief. "Ian, you're awake." She gently touched my hand. I was so worried. I tried to sit up. Pain shot through my body. She carefully helped me back onto the pillow. "Don't move. The doctor said you need to rest." She handed me a glass of water, then a painkiller. I looked at her. "You should be home." She shook her head. "No, I wanted to stay. I'm the reason this happened." I slowly smiled. "No, you aren't. I would do it again, 1,000 times, if it meant saving you." Fresh tears filled her eyes. "You saved me. I just didn't realize it until today." She lowered her head. "I had my doubts for months. I knew something wasn't right. But every time I questioned Ethan, he convinced me I was imagining things." She took a deep breath. "When you spoke, I believed you immediately." I looked at her in surprise. "You did?" She nodded. No one stays silent for 18 years. Just to tell one lie, for the first time in many years. I felt something I had almost forgotten. Someone believed me, without asking for proof, without judging me, just believed me. I stayed in the hospital for 2 more days. The doctors said I was lucky. No broken bones, just deep bruises and a mild concussion. Before I was discharged, Emma came to see me again. She carried a small paper bag. "I brought you something." Inside were homemade cookies. My mom baked them. She wanted to thank you. I smiled. No one has ever thanked me for causing so much trouble. Emma laughed softly. "You didn't cause it. You exposed it. There is a difference." For a few moments, neither of us spoke. The silence wasn't awkward. It felt peaceful. Finally, She looked at me. Ian, can I ask you something? I nodded. Why? Why didn't you speak for 18 years? Most people would have answered that question with one sentence. I couldn't. I took a long breath because when I was 10 years old, my father told me he wished I'd never been born. Emma covered her mouth. I continued. My mother said nothing. I realized my words only brought them anger, so I decided they would never hear my voice again. She stared at me, unable to speak. I thought I was hurting them, but now I know. I only punished myself. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She reached across the bed and gently took my hand. I'm so sorry. No child should ever hear those words. For the first time, someone wasn't pitying me. Someone simply understood. That meant more than I could explain. When I finally returned home, Buddy nearly knocked me over. His tail wagged wildly, as if I'd been gone for months. I laughed. A real laugh, maybe. The first real one in many years. Later that evening, my phone rang. The screen showed Dad. I stared at it for several seconds. Then I answered. The conversation would change everything once again. For a moment, I thought about ignoring the call. Then I answered. Ian. His voice was cold, not worried, not ashamed. Just angry. You've ruined this family. I closed my eyes. No, Dad. I didn't ruin anything. I only told the truth. You humiliated your brother. You embarrassed us. You've always been jealous of Ethan. I sighed. After everything that had happened, he still couldn't see it. No, I was never jealous. I just wanted to be treated like your son. Silence. For a second, I thought maybe he understood. Then he spoke again. It would have been better if you had stayed silent. Those words didn't hurt anymore. Not because they were kinder, but because I had finally stopped believing them. Dad, you've spent 28 years loving one son and pretending the other one didn't exist. I won't live like that anymore. If one day you truly understand what you've done, you know where to find me. But until then, I have nothing left to say. I ended the call. This time, I didn't cry. Instead, I felt lighter, as if 18 years of pain had finally left my shoulders. A week later, I returned to work. The moment I walked into the office, everyone froze. Then my manager smiled. So, it really is your voice. The whole office laughed. Not at me. With me. It was the first time I laughed together with other people. I finally felt normal. After work, Emma was waiting outside. She leaned against her car, holding 2 cups of coffee. I thought, you might like some company. I smiled. I'd love that. We walked through the park for hours, talking, laughing, sometimes sitting in comfortable silence. For the first time in my life, silence no longer felt like loneliness. It simply felt peaceful. As I walked beside Emma, I realized something. Maybe losing my voice had led me to the person who truly wanted to hear it. The weeks passed quietly. For the first time in years, I looked forward to each new day. Emma and I never rushed anything. We didn't need to. We had both been hurt. Trust takes time to rebuild. Every Friday evening, we met after work. Sometimes we had dinner. Sometimes we simply walked Buddy through the park. She loved dogs. Buddy loved her immediately. I smiled every time he ignored me. Just to sit beside Emma. I think he likes you more than me. She laughed. I think he's just smarter than both of us. It was the kind of laugh that made the world feel lighter. One afternoon, someone knocked on my apartment door. I opened it. Standing there was my mother. She looked older, tired, as if she hadn't slept in days. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Finally, she whispered, "May I come in?" I stepped aside. She slowly walked inside. Buddy sniffed her hand, then quietly lay down. Mom looked around the apartment. It feels peaceful here. I nodded. It is. She took a deep breath. Ian, I've come to ask for your forgiveness. I stayed silent, not because I couldn't answer, because I didn't know how. Tears filled her eyes. I should have protected you. When your father yelled. I stayed silent. When Ethan treated you badly. I stayed silent. I kept telling myself things would get better. They never did. She lowered her head. I failed you. The room became quiet. For years, I had imagined this moment. I thought hearing those words would erase the pain. It didn't, but it softened something inside me. I walked into the kitchen, made 2 cups of coffee, and returned. I handed one to her. She smiled through her tears. It seems you've become a better person than your parents ever were. I looked at her. I'm not ready to forgive everything, but I'm willing to start talking. She nodded. That's more than I deserve. For the first time in 18 years, my mother and I sat together, not as strangers, but as 2 people trying to heal. Life slowly found a new rhythm. Every day, I spoke a little more, not because I had to, because I wanted to. Emma was patient. She never asked me to become someone else. She accepted every scar, even the ones no one could see. One evening, we sat on a park bench, watching the sunset. She smiled. You know, when I first met Ethan, I thought he was everything I wanted. I looked at her. And now? She laughed softly. Now I know. The loudest people aren't always the strongest. Sometimes, the strongest person is the one who stayed silent. Her words stayed with me. For years, I believed my silence had made me weak. Maybe it had simply taught me patience. A few days later, my phone rang again. This time, it was Ethan. I almost didn't answer, but I did. Ian. His voice sounded different, less confident. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. The words surprised me, not because I believed them, because I had never expected to hear them. He continued. I lost Emma. I lost my job. My friends don't answer my calls anymore. I guess I finally understand what it feels like to lose everything. I closed my eyes. There was a long silence. Finally, I spoke. Ethan, I don't hate you, but forgiveness is something you earn, not with words, with the way you choose to live from now on. He didn't argue. For the first time in his life, he simply whispered, I understand. Then he hung up. I never knew whether he truly changed or whether he was simply lonely. But one thing had become clear. The truth always catches up with us, sooner or later. And sometimes, the greatest revenge isn't revenge at all, It's building a happy life without bitterness. I looked at Emma. She reached for my hand. This time, I didn't let go. Months passed. Life felt different, lighter. For the first time, I wasn't surviving. I was living. Emma and I continued building our relationship, one honest conversation at a time. There were no games, no lies, no pretending, just trust. One Saturday morning, we took Buddy hiking in the mountains. The air was fresh. The trees swayed gently in the wind. Emma looked at me and smiled. Do you ever regret speaking that day? I thought about it. If I had stayed silent, Ethan and Emma would have gotten married. She would have discovered the truth much later. Maybe after children. Maybe after years of heartbreak. I shook my head. No, I regret staying silent for 18 years. But I'll never regret speaking. When it mattered most. Emma squeezed my hand. So do I. A few weeks later, I received one final letter. It was from my father. Not a phone call. Not another angry message. A handwritten letter. His handwriting was shaky. He admitted, for the first time, that he had failed me. He wrote that loving one child should never have meant forgetting the other. He asked if one day I might be willing to sit down with him, not as enemies, but as father and son. I folded the letter carefully. I wasn't ready. Not yet. Some wounds need more time to heal, but for the first time, I believed healing was possible. Looking back, people often ask me, what was harder, speaking or staying silent? The answer is simple. Silence protected me for a while, but truth set me free. I lost 18 years because of pride, because of pain, because I believed my voice didn't matter. I was wrong. Sometimes one sentence can change an entire life. Mine certainly did. And if there's one lesson my story taught me, it's this: never let anyone convince you that your voice has no value, because the moment you finally speak the truth, your real life can finally begin. Before we say goodbye, what would you have done? If you were Ian, would you have stayed silent or spoken the truth much sooner? Do you think his parents ever truly realized what they had done to their own son? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your opinion. If this story touched your heart, please give it a like and subscribe for more unforgettable stories about family, love, betrayal, forgiveness, and the unexpected turns of fate. Never let anyone convince you that your voice doesn't matter, because sometimes one honest sentence can change an entire life. Take care, and I'll see you in the next story.